Good afternoon. Benjamin Sanchez here on another edition of the Legal Grounds 12 Days of Christmas. In today's video, which is video number 4 of this 12-part series, I'm going to be discussing lawyer rating systems and what you should look out for as someone who is trying to evaluate attorneys and sort of what things that they may give you as far as proof of their abilities and their ratings. So, the first thing I want to say about lawyer rating systems is that they are not all equal. The value of the rating system is only as good as the source of the rating system. So, unfortunately, there are lots of companies in the business of creating lawyer ratings simply for the purpose of getting lawyers to buy whatever they're selling and make that look like it's a good rating. Many years ago, before the days of the internet, there was a big company called Martindale Hubble, and they used to do lawyer rating systems. And so, for some of you older folks, you may know about A plus, B, C ratings from this big Martindale Hubble company, which no longer exists in its original form. However, those rating systems back in the days of old were sort of by imitation only, and quite frankly, favored attorneys in big law firms. These attorneys had to basically get other people to sponsor them, and then rating questions went out to other attorneys in the community to try to rate them. And so these former rating systems, which they had to basically the market on before, were these A, B, or whatever. But again, those rating systems were done by other attorneys and mainly favored big law firms rather than solo and small firm attorneys. When the internet came along, it sort of democratized some of those rating systems. It really wasn't until a company called Avo came along, and that's spelled A, V's and Victor, V's and Victor, O.com, Avo.com. They were sort of the first client slash consumer based rating system for lawyers. So, what Avo did is they scoured all of the state bar websites and got all the memberships and then created a page for each attorney they could find. And then it was up to that attorney if they wanted to claim that page and then put more information on there. But these attorney pages under Avo would at least have the basic information that was scoured from the membership sites of the various state bars. What that allowed people to do was the big thing about Avo was that it allowed people to rate those attorneys directly on its website. So consumers and clients and former clients could begin placing their own reviews of the attorneys on avo.com for that particular lawyer's profile. It was encouraged that attorneys take a hold of their profile and actually fill it out with their details, their honors, their publications, practice areas, as much information as they could, because the more they filled it out, the better that the rating by Avo became simply by filling out some information. So Avo had a standard starting rating for an attorney that I think was about a 6 or 6.5 or something, without you taking any action on your own. If you filled it out, even without client reviews, your rating went up a point or two. However, once the reviews start kicking in, that rating can keep going up all the way or it can go down based upon those reviews. So Avo.com now has been around for a while, and it is probably the premier client side rating system. And so Avo used to have descriptive ratings such as perfect, good, fair, bad. Now they have a number rating system. I think they go from 1 to 10. I have been on that system, and I've actually been a perfect when it was a prior descriptive rating system, and I've been a 10.0 ever since then. And so, for example, if you go to my particular review under avo.com, my profile, you will see I have about 29 or so reviews. Most of them are, 5.0. Um, the problem with avo.com, um, and really with any review system that allows people to comment, is that sometimes you get people who do a rating because they're pissed off that they lost, or they may not even be a client. They may have just been someone who consulted, or they may even be opposing party who just wants to knock the opposing attorney for doing their job. So that's avo.com. With the advent of Google and Google business sites, we now have Google ratings. So whenever you search an attorney up on Google, many times you'll find that they have a calendar. I mean, they'll have a location like on a map, and they'll have some reviews. Not everyone has a Google listing. Not everyone has claimed their Google business listing. However, you can still write reviews even if that listing has not been claimed. So there are consumer reviews on Google. Additionally, there are consumer reviews on Yelp. So we think of Yelp as a place to review restaurants and those kind of things, but actually there are attorneys who have uh, reviews on Yelp as well. Again, no matter what kind of system you have, whether it's Avo, Google, or Yelp, the number one issue with these review sites is that you don't have control. The attorney does not necessarily have control over who posts. And if you have a disgruntled client who is upset that they lost, but you really did good work for, they could still potentially put a negative review. So you, as the attorney, would want to actually respond to that review. Every now and then, if you have a fake client or you have an opposing party, you could potentially appeal that to either Google or Avo or Yelp, but it's not necessarily going to come off. So that's just the downside of it. There are other ratings as well. I discussed yesterday, for example, that I was recently honored as a top lawyer of Houston in business and civil litigation and consumer law in the 2020 edition, sponsored by H Texas Magazine, which is a local magazine that has annual top lists for lawyers, realtors, doctors, things like that. And so they do, their regular magazine, but they also have their top list for different professions as well. So you have H Texas Magazine, for example, in Houston. I think there's another one called Houstonia Magazine, which I've also been on their list as well. Then there are websites like Super Lawyer or Best Lawyer, and those websites also have their own rating systems. Technically, with the super lawyers and the best lawyers, you have to be invited to be reviewed. You have to be nominated to be reviewed. And so that's more sort of like the old buddy system of Martindale Hubble, where you get in through some sort of invitation, and then you get other attorneys to rate you. So those kind of magazines or best lawyer, super lawyer, those kind of things, they're still good rating systems, but just understand what you're getting. There's a difference between rating systems that are done on the consumer client side, and then there are rating systems done by legal professionals and colleagues and things like that. So just know when you're looking at a rating system or you're looking at some attorney saying, I've got this rating or that rating, what kind of basic rating system it is. It could be a consumer or it could be, a colleague. The third type of rating systems, what I talked about before, are these sort of fake advertising companies that create ratings just because they want to sell advertising, and they want to sell a rating so you can actually buy a rating from a company that really is just no more than a company selling that rating. For example, lawyers often get ads in the mail for companies that offer these rating systems that are just really purchases. I have been offered to become a top attorney in my area for personal injury law. Yet I don't practice personal injury law. But if I were to fill out that form that I got from that company and send it in, they would give me back a rating as an award for top personal injury attorney. And the problem with that is that you don't know from the sound of that company. They sound official, like the National Academy of Personal Injury Attorneys or the National Center for Criminal Defense Attorneys. And all of those companies sound like they're official, but really they're just advertising companies. So you really need to do your homework when it comes to ratings of attorneys. And when attorneys tell you they have this award or that award, you got to do your, not all rating systems are equal, not all rating systems are alike. And there are basically three different types of rating systems: paid advertising, rating systems by legal professionals, and then rating systems by consumers. You could potentially get someone who's considered a super lawyer or a best lawyer. In other words, they look really good according to their professionals. But then you go to their actual client reviews on a site like Avvo or Google and find out that they really have no bedside manner. They just, they get horrible client reviews even though they're a super lawyer. So I hope this has been helpful. I've given an entire uh, continuing legal education presentation seminar on this to other attorneys. I've tried to educate the public about the fact that some of these ratings are just bought. We have had state bar presidents and former state bar presidents even comment about getting some of these and knowing that it's just throwing money out there to get another rating system that really does, another award or rating that really doesn't matter. So take this into account. Do your homework whenever you're presented with accolades and awards from attorneys. Know the difference and make sure that you kind of do your Google search for reviews that are not just by peers and legal professionals, but also by consumers and clients. You might be surprised that your top attorney gets bad reviews. I hope this has been helpful. This has been day 4 of Legal Grounds 12 Days of Christmas. I look forward to coming back tomorrow with a new topic. If you have any questions, give me a call, 713-780-7745, 713-780-7745. Again, this is Benjamin Sanchez. I'm a Texas attorney. I empower and represent people when problems arise in two of the most important areas of their lives: as a family member and as a consumer. I wish you all a very happy day. Bye bye.